7. I worked at Walmart and regularly dealt with 3 different people above me who were technically my bosses. I still call it the worst place I've ever worked because of how thoroughly they tried to screw employees out of what they'd earned. I was hired as a temp, with the promise I'd go full-time after 6 months. I worked third shift stocking grocery aisles from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., with a half-hour lunch and 2 unpaid 15-minute breaks, a full 8-hour shift. Half the time after my shift, my supervisor would come over and say, "We don't have any cart pushers coming in soon. Mind going out and getting all the carts?" It wasn't really a question, it was, "Do this or we argue." Those parking lots are huge. I didn't get to use the machine that pushes 50 carts at once either. I had to wrangle 10 to 20 at a time, hoping I didn't smash any cars. It usually took about an hour. Then payday would come and I'd get, "You're about to hit overtime, take an extra 30 minutes for lunch, or come in an hour later tonight so you don't get overtime." I carpooled with my mom, who started at 9 p.m., so often they'd say, "Just clock in anyway and then double your lunch." When overtime was actually allowed, my manager got bonuses for denying overtime to employees, even around Black Friday and Christmas. We were on minimum wage while he was on salary, showing up for like an hour at the start and end of first shift. Around Christmas, I was scheduled off, and I told my supervisors how relieved I was because my brother, sister-in-law, and niece were in town and we'd planned dinner and a movie. I didn't have my phone on me. The next day I came in and got chewed out because they'd decided last minute they needed me to work, and I hadn't shown up despite promising no last-minute changes during holidays. When my 6 months were up, they laid me off because tax season was coming and keeping temps would cost more. When it ended, they offered me another temp role with the same promise of full-time after 6 months. Fuck Walmart. 8. My supervisor at a nonprofit was only a couple of years older than me, but in the 6 months I worked there, she never bothered to get me my own computer. I worked mornings, she usually showed up around lunchtime. She told me to just use her computer until she came in, which was already awkward. But more often than not, she'd arrive about an hour before my shift ended, stand over me while eating her lunch, and watch me work at her desk. I'd say things like, "I'll find somewhere else to sit," and she'd insist, "No, you're fine," and just keep looming. She was the director of marketing. For 2 weeks, she had me walking around the city putting up flyers for a class we were hosting, coffee shops, random buildings, bulletin boards. 2 weeks later, she was furious that no one had signed up. You'd think the director of marketing would have a better strategy than stick flyers up and pray. 9. I walked into an off-the-rack suit shop with my resume and met the assistant manager, a guy a couple years older than me, very timeshare salesman vibes with fake tan and bad hair. He hired me on the spot. The actual manager was on vacation in Jordan and due back at the end of the week. The job itself was pretty relaxed. Fold clothes, stand around behind the till while waiting for people to come in and buy mediocre suits. I'm good at selling and even better at slacking, so that first week felt fine. The assistant manager had a camping trip planned for the weekend, but said it was okay because the real manager would be back before then. Except then there was a revolt in Jordan, the airfields got shut down, and the manager was stuck there. I tried to convince the assistant manager to stay, since I had less than a week's experience and 0 management training. He handed me a key and went camping anyway. So with under a week of experience, I became the de facto manager. On Saturday, the vice president of operations flew in from across the country to check on the shop. He was not pleased. The assistant manager got fired. I inherited his responsibilities plus a very quick crash course in my new role while the VPO stormed around, fixing displays and barking orders, understandably pissed. From then on, my day started at 7:30 in the morning to open by 8. If we opened 5 minutes late, the mall fined us $500. I was the only person who could do early opens and the only one who could reliably close, so I started working 14-hour days, every day, for just over a month in a job I wasn't trained for. To be fair, the HQ guys were awesome. They walked me through payroll, scheduling, ordering, and merchandising and kept me sane. That month was brutal but survivable because of them. Then the original manager finally came back from Jordan and was furious. Nothing was how he left it. The displays were off, his assistant was gone, and HQ had been on his case the whole time. Instead of being grateful the store was still functioning, he took it out on me. He snapped at me, dressed me down in front of staff, and made it clear he blamed me for everything. He complained about me to HQ too. For a full week after he got back, I kept doing the same insane hours while being treated like crap nonstop. So I quit. HQ wasn't thrilled and made him call me to ask me to return. I went in to discuss it. He clearly wanted nothing to do with me. The offer was exactly what I'd started with, entry level. No raise, no promotion, no acknowledgement of what I'd done to keep the place afloat. Just $10 an hour and the same treatment. I said no. I went to work at a comic shop instead. 10. My first boss was easily the worst I've ever had. It would take a book to list everything, so here are the hits. She routinely called me between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. to complain about things that could easily wait until normal work hours. She was the marketing manager, yet she'd type www.websitename.com into Google to get to any site, then got mad when I tried to explain the address bar. She commented on my body constantly, even when I was trying to lose weight. She'd call during my evening workouts to order me back to my computer to do more work. She did this on weekends too, even in the middle of dates with my fiancé. She refused to let me see a doctor until my staph infection got so bad I could barely stand. After I left, she stalked me at my new job, called my new manager, who already knew she was unhinged, to rant about a supposed grammar mistake I'd made. She was wrong about the grammar too. 11. My story is pretty mild compared to some, but still bad. I work at a museum. The board president called me right before a big seasonal event and basically tore into me, saying she'd heard from other people that I wasn't giving 100% and that I needed to step up or face consequences. I was already stressed and pissed off. After the call, I emailed her because it came completely out of the blue. I'd never had a single complaint about my work from tourists, my executive director, my actual boss, or the board. I asked who had said something. Turns out no one had. She hadn't heard anything. She just unloaded her own petty complaints. That I wore a costume on Halloween. That I didn't label some random knickknacks she'd brought in that had no historical value. That I kept my bike in the office out of sight. I told her she could have just mentioned those things as they happened, especially since I'd never been told not to do them, instead of swearing at me on the phone months later. I lost a lot of respect for her that day, but I still had my job, so I let it go. Later, I found out the executive director and president were paying me $1.25 less per hour than they originally promised. When I was hired, they gave me a job description with a higher rate on it. I stupidly didn't keep a copy. When my first paycheck came, it was lower, and they handed me a new job description with the reduced rate. I kept quiet because I needed the job and they were already shady. This year, a bunch of drama happened, my boss and the whole executive board resigned, and I found my original job description with the original pay. I'm now being paid what I should have been all along, plus back pay. The place used to be a nightmare. The new board is actually decent. 12. I worked for a small company with about 12 employees. The owner and president had no clue how to run a business beyond profit, profit, profit. He deliberately kept staff numbers low so he wouldn't have to provide health insurance. We got a maximum of 2 weeks of vacation, no personal or sick days. If you got sick, either burn your vacation or don't get paid. Raises basically didn't exist. One guy had worked there 10 years, still made $8 an hour, and had never gotten a raise despite doing great work. Safety meant nothing. Dust, flying debris, small parts, no masks or safety glasses. Cutting fiberglass, no gloves, no masks. Working on a lathe or a mill, long sleeves and loose hair were apparently fine. It was a hazard buffet. One employee got a hernia from lifting something heavy on the job. He asked for workers' comp for surgery. He had no insurance and wasn't making enough to pay for it himself. The owner refused, saying he could have gotten the hernia at home, despite multiple people seeing him double over in pain right after lifting the part. Over a year later, he still hasn't had it fixed. Meanwhile, every 2 months, the owner would roll in with a new toy. Porsche GT3, Tesla Model S, 2 of them, Nissan GT-R, Audi S8, and more. He'd pull us off the floor just to show off his cars. When I quit, I gave him about 5 minutes notice and walked out. He tried accusing me of stealing sensitive company info, which was bullshit. I left everything on my desk. I told him to leave me alone or I'd report his OSHA violations. He backed off. Since then, 4 of their most experienced employees have left, and 3 more are trying to. 13. A few years ago, I was hired as a bartender for a restaurant. On my first day, I met another new hire. When the shift started, they sent me to wait tables and put him behind the bar. I'd applied as a bartender, had bar experience, and had never waitressed before. He had waiting experience and no bar experience. The manager who'd hired me wasn't there, so I asked the other manager. She told me, the girl's waitress, the guy's bartend. I was annoyed but assumed the original manager would fix it later. He never did. I learned very quickly that I'm terrible at waitressing. I was stressed and clumsy, and the female manager made it so much worse. She hovered constantly, snapped at me in front of customers, and screamed at me on my third night because I forgot table numbers. I never hated a boss more. I didn't even want to be a waitress. I wanted the job I was hired for. The guy on the bar, who'd never poured a pint in his life, was left alone to figure it out. She yelled at him too, but not like she did at me. One night, he was alone at the bar. It got a little busy, and a group ordered mojitos. He'd never been taught how to make them and had no recipe cards. I hopped behind the bar to help him. The manager saw me behind the bar and absolutely lost it, screaming at me in front of everyone. It was humiliating. What made it worse was everyone else adored her. She'd invite the others to parties right in front of me and act super sweet to them while treating me like trash. Eventually, I got fired based on her feedback. Honestly, fair, I really was a bad waitress. But I still cringe thinking about that job and that awful woman. Bonus. I once worked for a narcissistic, alcoholic asshole who drove the company straight into the ground. Unfortunately for me, I was self-employed.